In the golden hush of early morning, as the sun stretched its fingers across the savannah, a quiet stillness hung over the remote ranger station. Nestled within the eastern plains, birds had not yet begun their chorus, and the tall grasses swayed gently in a breeze, unaware of the moment that was about to unfold. The rangers, seasoned guardians of the wild, stood outside sipping their first tea of the day. When movement on the horizon caught their eyes, there emerging from the mist, like a ghost of the past, walked an old male lion. He was not alone, for lionesses flanked him, silent, poised, not as protectors nor as predators, but as companions on a sacred journey. The lion walked with the weight of years upon his shoulders, his breast heavy, his frame gaunt, yet still regal. The men did not move, the air around them, thickened with reverence, for this was no ordinary lion. Slowly the great beast came to a halt just outside the ranger station, and with a heavy sigh lay down upon the sun-warmed earth. His golden mane shimmered like an aging crown, and his eyes held not fear, but something far older, acceptance, and then silence. A silence so deep that even a wind seemed to pause. What had drawn him here to the house of men? What sacred thread bound his final steps to this place? The answer lay buried in time, and in the memories of a single man from the group of rangers. One slowly stepped forward, Manuru, the oldest among them, whose name meant light in the tongue of his people. His hands were worn, his eyes sharp with a memory of years spent among lions and storms. He did not need to ask who the lion was. "Biruti," he whispered, his voice trembling like leaves in the morning breeze. "The Lord of the Eastern Plains has returned." Many stories have been told of Biruti, how he had defended his pride against 20 hyenas, how he once vanished into a storm, only to emerge dragging a wounded cub in his jaws. For years the old lion had ruled these lands, feared and admired in equal measure. But 5 years ago he had disappeared. Most believed he had perished. The savannah does not often grant kings a quiet end. Yet here he was. The lionesses circled him gently, not guarding him but accompanying him like sentinels to a resting soul. They were calm, unthreatening, their presence a message. This was not an invasion. It was a homecoming, and a lion he had not come to conquer, but to surrender to the place where wilderness and humanity met. Nuru knelt slowly, eyes locked with Biruti's. In that unspoken exchange, the years melted away. "Your home," he said, and in that instant every ranger knew they were not witnessing a scene of danger. They were standing at the edge of a legend. As the sun climbed higher, Biruti remained motionless beneath its light, a silhouette carved in golden shadow. The lionesses ever still formed a loose circle around him. Nuru gave a quiet signal, slowly, carefully. The rangers retrieved a stretcher from the infirmary, a simple wooden platform built to carry wounded antelope or tranquilize predators. Never before had it held a lion. By choice, the rangers approached with open palms, hearts thudding beneath their uniforms, and Biruti did not resist with a grace that defied fear. He lifted his head slightly, locking eyes with each man in turn, as though offering silent permission together. Men of the plains and the line of legend, they lifted him slowly, gently. His muscles did not tense. His breath remained steady for the first time in their lives. The rangers touched the untouchable to shade him from the relentless sun. Nuru took his own ranger jacket, white with age, heavy with memory, and laid it across the lion's back. Not as a symbol of ownership, but of respect. The lionesses followed as Biruti was placed under the station's thatched awning, where he could rest in peace, shaded and dignified. For a fleeting moment, the line between wild and human dissolved, between predator and protector. Here on this patch of sun-drenched earth, they became kin. Hours passed, time lost meaning beneath the stillness of that awning. Biruti's sides rose and fell with deep, labored breaths. The lionesses remained close, their golden eyes ever watchful but unafraid. Birds settled in nearby branches, but did not sing. The savannah held its breath. The rangers took shifts one by one, sitting beside the old lion, not out of duty but out of reverence. No one dared to speak above a whisper. Even the wind seemed to tread softly. And then, as twilight surrendered to the earliest blush of dawn, Nuru began to speak. He told a time decades ago when he first tracked Biruti as a young lion, fierce and wild, how the lion had once risked his own life to pull a drowning cub across a flooded gorge. How he had vanished into the mist one night, wounded only to re-emerge days later victorious, But scarred Biruti had lived a life that few lions knew. One of strength, of story, of spirit, and now he was ready to let it go as the first rays of sunrise. Stretched across the land, Biruti opened his eyes for the final time. They flickered with something ancient gratitude, perhaps then with a breath so deep it seemed to carry the weight of years. The lion exhaled and did not inhale again. A single lioness let out a low, mournful groan. The others lowered their heads, and so did the men. A king had fallen, and all the world knew it when the sun stood high above the plains. The rangers gathered with shovels and solemn hearts beneath the sprawling limbs of an ancient acacia tree. They began to dig. This tree had stood watch over countless migrations, storms, and battles. Today it would watch over a burial. Biruti's body still draped in the white ranger's jacket was carried not only by the hands of men, but by the silent presence of lionesses who walked beside them as if part of a royal procession. No words were spoken, only the sound of footfall in dry grass, the creak of the stretcher in the soft sighs of the wind. When a grave was ready, they lowered him in with care. The jacket remained on his back, a final gesture of the bond that had formed in those last hours. Stones were placed gently around the grave, and then in an act that left every ranger speechless, each lioness stepped forward and licked the stones one by one, marking the place, perhaps honoring it when it was done. They sat silently for a moment longer, then turned and walked away, fading into the tall grass as mysteriously as they had come. And the rangers, they stood still, hands over hearts, watching until the savannah swallowed them. Whole Biruti, the legend, the lion, the king, was gone, but he had not died in solitude. He had died in peace among friends that evening, as shadows lengthened and the skies turned the color of embers. One lioness remained the oldest. She sat beside the acacia tree, her amber eyes fixed on the grave. The wind rustled through her mane, and for a moment she looked not like a beast of the wild, but like a sentinel of memory. She stayed until the sun dipped below the horizon. Then she stood and disappeared into the grass. She never returned. None of them did, but something lingered in the years that followed. The ranger station became known by a new name among the locals: the House of Peace. No lions ever attacked. No predator crossed its boundary with violence. Even the elephants, with their unpredictable temperaments, seemed to step gently when passing through. New rangers came. Stories were told. The tale of Biruti became legend, passed on from one voice to the next. Not just a lion who died among men, but a lion who chose them. Some say the land was blessed that day, that a bond was forged between lion and man, witnessed by earth and sky. Others believe Biruti's spirit still roams beneath the stars, watching, remembering, but all agree on one thing: something sacred happened beneath that acacia tree, and as long as it stands swaying beneath the African sky, Biruti's legacy will remain not in roar or claw, but in peace. And so in the heart of the eastern plains, beneath the acacia tree that whispers in the wind, the story of Biruti lives on, a tale not of death, but of dignity, not of a lion's end, but of a king's homecoming in a world where the line between the wild and the human grows ever thinner. Moments like these remind us that reverence, trust, and peace can still be found. If this story moved you, if the spirit of Biruti touched something deep within you, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more true stories from the wild, told with heart, history, and the voice of nature itself. Every view, every comment, every share helps us bring the untold wonders of the natural world to light. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and always walk gently on this earth.